thinking about the ending, I was a little torn on Dr. Kelson at the end because I was just talking about how you feel like he could outsmart Jimmy at any point, and he did when he was like, "Okay, Jimmy's the only one that knows I'm really not old Nick. These followers, these other Jimmys, they don't know. They think I am the devil." So when I called for, he recognizes Spike, and he has him take his mask off. Then he calls for the crucifixion of Jimmy. I'm like, okay, that's the moment he outsmarts him. But I was also thinking, is he doing it just because he wants to save Spike? Or is he doing it because this guy, he's like, Kelson believes in humanity. Like he potentially solved a cure for the zombie apocalypse. So he needs to like look at improving the world, not leaving people like Jimmy Crystal inside of it. So it's like, I thought he's calling for the crucifixion. He knows these people will follow him, but he could have just taken Spike and just been like, I need to take this child as a disciple. I thought that would have happened, but I kind of am torn because, yeah, he could have done that and he could have stayed alive, or he's looking out for a better world. What do you think about the ending, his decision and that eventually cost his life?
I've been thinking about that since I've seen this movie because right away I thought the same thing where I thought, okay, well, he's hearing Jimmy say all these things that he's going to do or basically has done, like skinning people. And obviously he sees it Spike. So he has to figure out a way to get Spike out of the situation. So you think as an audience member, okay, the safe play, the smart play would be, oh, all right, yeah, I need Spike as a disciple, like you said, using your term, and you guys go off on your way. And you find and you're the devil, you could just say, find whatever, three more fingers to complete your seven, right? And then go on your merry way and never come back and see me again. And they would do that because they believe you're the devil and it's over, nip it in the bud. But it's what you said there. He believes in humanity and he's a doctor. He doesn't believe in killing and whatnot. He has like an obligation or a right, he believes, to kind of end this, and that's kind of why he's like, nope, I'm going to lean into this devil even more and say, we got to put you to the stake, because
Mhm.
not only does he want to save Spike, but he also wants to save humanity, right? And save other people's lives, right? From this cult leader who's telling other people to not just murder them, but in brutal ways. So he took a risk. It was a bigger risk. Was it a smart move? No, but it was clever. It was clever, using the devil. But for me, I was fine with it as I age with it.
And I think it matches the character, a guy who sees a future for humanity now. The guy that has now knows there is a way for these alphas to kind of remove the clouded brain that they have to become human again, or at least a version of a human, And that leads to Spike and the Jimmy, uh, uh, basically Jimmy. I'll just say Jimmy.
Jimmy Inc. is her, Erin Kellyman. She's the Winter Soldier villain.
Those two
Falcon the Winter Soldier.
those two then running off into the countryside, chased by the zombies. And it's revealed that Killian Murphy is there in the countryside, in the same cottage that he was in at the end of 28 Days Later, it appeared. And he is there, what it looks like his daughter. But there is no Selena. And maybe that's their daughter between Selena and Killian Murphy, his Jim. And then there's Hannah there, who was Brendan Gleeson's daughter from the end of 28 Days Later. She's not there as well. So it's only those two. Ricky, they are going to take those two in, it appears, because you have the daughter of Killian Murphy, Jim, saying, do we help them? And he says, of course. He has been tutoring her. He is homeschooling her. He gives her the tests on the Weimar Republic and, Winston Churchill and post-World War I Europe. And it looks like Killian Murphy is going to have a massive role in this next movie, starring role, especially because no Ray Fiennes, no Jack O'Connell. What do you think about him being included right at the end of this movie? Basically, a version of a post credit. You know, um, what I guess what do you think about him finding him there, the people that he's with, and who's not there?
It's interesting where no Naomi Harris, right? Someone that could easily come back. Like, why isn't she back here? There's probably some sort of the plot in Alex Garland script where it's beneficial for her not to come back for the Killian Murphy character. And that leads me to saying the first movie, what do you have? You have a combination of Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ray Fiennes, and Jodie Comer, star-studded trio there with Spike at the core, right? But you need the stars to kind of buy into the child actor Alfie Williams, right? Second movie, it's Ray Fiennes coming again, some continuity with the kid, but also Jack O'Connell kind of replacing the Eric Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer split. Because again, Eric Taylor Johnson was mainly in the first act, or sorry, first half, and then Jodie Comer in the second. Here, you're gonna have Cillian Murphy taking over for both of them, right? And maybe Aaron Kellyman, the Jimmy Ink character, kind of taking on an elevator role. Again, not a huge star, but somewhat of a minor star. I think you kind of need Killian to be a huge star in this movie. You know what I'm saying? With that lack of star power that you're going to have now, just based off of process of elimination. You know, you lose Ray Fiennes as your core. You lose that appeal of Jack O'Connell. Aaron Taylor Johnson's probably not coming back. Obviously, Jodie Comer is dead. You know, so you kind of need Cillian Murphy to step up here. And you know who else is coming back? Danny Boyle. He's directing this movie. So I think Danny Boyle coming back, Cillian Murphy coming back, Alex Garland's still writing here. I think it makes an interesting premise here, and I'm kind of buying into this third one. The only thing I have an issue with is that you reading that synopsis again, going back to that, where it's like, oh, basically signaling, hey, there's a potential solution here, or like vaccine to the virus, right? And we have one now, kind of. We kind of just abandon that now because Ray Fiennes is dead. Like, how do we get that back on the train for the third film if we do? I don't know how we do that. That's my only issue with introducing that huge storyline to this franchise, an actual cure, and then there's no way to get it. That's kind of my only issue.
First off, I want to say when I saw Cillian Murphy appear on screen, I was like starstruck. Like I was like kind of like, oh my God, it's Cillian Murphy. I don't know if that's the post Oppenheimer thing. And now he's coming back to a role from when he was younger. And it's just like it just feels different. When like I saw him on there, I was like, dude, the whole crowd went, ooh, like Cillian Murphy, like Oscar winner Cillian Murphy. It's freaking J. Robert Oppenheimer himself. And to have him, you know, with a daughter, but like they're talking about, if you like pay attention, like I talked about it, like they're doing a lesson. It's the Weimar Republic. It's post World War I, and history's doomed to repeat itself. That's like what the lesson they were talking about Winston Churchill, like his famous quote. Makes me think that it comes off what Dr. Kelson did, and like we have a chance to restore humanity, and how do we prevent something like this ever from happening again? So I think it's going to be them somehow carrying on Dr. Kelson, getting this to a wider, you know, band. Is it them going to the isolated environment that Spike is from, and then they can somehow, you know, get this type of, you know, cure, right? Spread it somehow, right? Get to some other type of intelligence. And I think the key link is going to be actually Samson. I think Samson is going to be the connector where he was attacked by zombies, survived, and still had the ability to talk. Will he be someone that can connect with Spike, right? With Jimmy Ink, with Jim, right? And his daughter, and then reveal, and they're like, wow, like we have something here, and they go back to the Bone Temple. They have to go back to the Bone Temple. That's like basically what I'm saying. And then what do they do from there? But I think Samson's going to be the link where they're going to run into him, or Samson's going to try and locate them, meaning like Spike or Jimmy Ink. And then we go from there. But this is going to be the Cillian Murphy show going into the next movie.
Yeah, you make a good point with Samson. I could see that. That's good. But I was curious, like, do they leave the cottage and the countryside and go back to London to kind of go full circle with Cillian Murphy 28 days later? You know, do they go full circle, go back to the city?
And you get the Cillian Murphy legacy sequel shot of him alone in the street.
It poses an interesting question. And then obviously another thing we have to talk about, they filmed these first two back to back. They haven't filmed this one yet. When does this come out? And do we lose the momentum? I don't think we'll lose momentum. This movie's only making like $15 million this weekend, so it's not big enough to like have any momentum that's like worthy of like, hey, we need this movie right now. But I loved how this was back-to-back years, you know, right away. You know, January release, usually a Dumpuary movie. This is definitely not a Dumpuary movie. This is one of the better movies of the year, probably. For this to be come out in January seems off.
Hasty. It seems
a good word for this because the first one came out in June. So 7 months later, we already have the sequel, which I love. But maybe let's again, 15 million at the box office is not terrible, but we could have done a lot better. I feel like for the way that horror is going right now, that the consistency at the box office with horror, not to get more out of this movie at the box office, more people to see it, seems like a missed opportunity.
It seems like the first one, critics were like, this is the best legacy sequel ever made, you know, and some people felt differently. Some people agreed. A lot of critics agreed with one another. And then you want to build that anticipation up for the next movie, you know, to have it come out less than 12 months later, that seems a little hasty. And this one earned less than half of the opening weekend of 28 years later. Did I read that right?
Sadly.
That is insane. And because this one, I think, has more entertainment value at theaters, which is sad. Like, why couldn't you wait at least until like maybe we do like a fall or winter release of 2026? Why did it have to come out 12 months, like, or 11 months within the last movie, 10 months within the last movie? That no one ever does that. No one, you know, like that is like you're really taking a risk. Blows my mind. And if I'm looking at when they make the next one, they shoot it this year, probably. Is that when they're going to shoot it?
Probably, if not end of the year into next year.
So it could be like late 2027 release, maybe, right? Late 2027. And this one, I think they want to make sure they get right because it could be the final one ever for the 28 Days Later franchise. I assume it will be because this is already we've gotten 2 legacy sequels. This will be the end of the legacy trilogy. And Cillian Murphy's back. I think they're going to want to take their time. And I think this movie is going to be way bigger than the last 2 movies who have been only in like a handful of different settings. I think this one, you might see them go back to London. Now I'm thinking about it. Like they might want to blow this shit wide open because if they gain the cure in the first act of the movie, they want to get it to a place that we can, develop more of it. Like probably not in that isolated environment Aaron Taylor Johnson's in. It's probably going to be in the city. And before we keep going, I just wanted to say, does Aaron Taylor Johnson return for the 3rd movie? Is he on the search for Spike? Does he run into this crew and then he sees the future for humanity and go to London? Does he try and take Spike back to the isolated environment? I feel like this movie, that's why I was also saying it doesn't feel entirely like a sequel because it doesn't emphasize Spike as much. We had to carry a part of that movie with a comatose Jodie Comer. And then it doesn't reference the isolated village, doesn't reference Aaron Taylor Johnson, such a massive star. I feel like they're going to blow this shit wide open and bring him back for the 3rd one.
It feels like because of the lack of star power, they will. I kind of was in the back of my mind expecting him in a scene. I don't know.
Yeah,
like
me too.
him, like a post credit of him on the search, like running away from zombies on the search for Spike, his son. Right. I was expecting something. By the way, I do love the pre credits. That more movies should do that, like the Cillian Murphy here. And then the last one was Jack O'Connell and the Jimmies. Pre-credits, those hit hard because it feels like it's a part of the movie, Love those. Love those. But yeah, I think we just from a lack of star power, we might need to do that. But again, this movie versus the first one, like we talk about box office, right? And movie theater movie. I would say the first one's more of a movie theater movie than this one because you have the huge set pieces, the bridge scene, the constant zombies. Like there's way more things like you need to see that on the big screen, right? And I remember that was a big selling point for the first movie saying you have to go see this in theaters. And they were telling us all these different ways that they were filming this, right? Like with the iPhones and a couple other things, right? Saying like you should see this on the big screen because we specifically did that. Like Danny Boyle was really adamant about that, right? This one less so. Very much less so. A lot of the promotion was around the Ralph Fiennes, Samson relationship. A lot of it, Ari Kellyman talking about the core of the story and things like that. Less of like, oh, look at this on the big screen. I feel like we need to get back to that a little bit just so more people see the movie. But again, that the big zombie elements of this movie is not the reason why we love this so much. So they have to be careful they don't go too big or lean too much into that and lose like kind of why these first 2 movies and this legacy sequel or legacy trilogy is doing so well.
It was like less innovative with the camera for sure compared to the first one. And that wasn't a huge part of the promotion for this movie. But when and you're right, like also why it didn't feel as much of a sequel, like the zombies were not like the ultimate villain of the story. That's a huge reason why. And like the zombies when they were in this, they fucking showed out. I'll tell you that. They showed out. Like that train sequence when Samson says, I don't have a ticket, and then he just proceeds to kick everyone's ass. You knew in the back of your mind, he's going to survive this. You know, he's going to get bit and he's still going to be like a bit of a hybrid. We have to come back to Samson to see how he is. Like, I feel like we didn't get a sense of how he is mentally because he felt like he went full human and then he gets bit again. Is he becoming a hybrid? Like what's going on with Samson? So Cillian Murphy and crew will find Samson. He is the connector. And then we'll see what happens after that. I think you got to bring back ATJ to try and like find his kid. Like, you know, I think he did care about his son. Like they obviously had a strong relationship.
They teased him searching for his kid.
So like you got to show him also, you know, it's almost like converging on Samson, you know, or converging. Spike is the connector. We talked about it.